Good evening. It is 5:30, July 23rd, and it's time to start our monthly meeting. I call this meeting to order. Roll call, Ms. Rhonda.
Dr. Redis.
Here.
Mrs. Temple.
Here.
Mr. Taylor.
Here.
Ms. Barker.
Here.
Mrs. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Newsom.
Thank you. Being that the students are still on vacation, there won't be an invocation, but a flag salute. We can do that.
Sure can.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Oops, I didn't do assignments. Y'all did it last time. So this way. Miss Barker, would you read the vision statement, please?
Vision statement. Our community, our schools, where your future begins.
Miss Temple, the mission?
The North Little Rock School District will prepare all students for their future by offering a well-rounded, rigorous, relevant, and innovative education that allows each child to achieve their full potential in a safe, supportive learning environment to be future ready.
And Miss Scott, more purpose.
As a community, our moral purpose is that all children will achieve, have a high-quality teacher, have a high-quality leader, and a supportive learning environment. We will not allow an achievement gap in the North Little Rock School District.
Thank you. And since the students are not here, there's no recognitions. We're moving right along. Are there any public comments? Let's keep this rolling. Look at there. No legislative update. I'm not excited that we don't have anything. There's no. Is there a CPPC report? There's no CCP report. No LPPC. So we're down to informational items. First one is AP testing results.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Poliski, thank you for having us. I am Dr. Leanne Stoll, Assistant Superintendent of Network Support Services, and with me I have our brand new Coordinator of Virtual and Advanced Programs,
Awesome.
Ms. Heather Theodore.
Good evening. Madam President, members of the board, I'm going to present to you our advanced placement testing data from this past school year. The purpose of this presentation is to provide stakeholders with the 2025-2026 advanced placement AP testing. This was all done the first 2 weeks of May. AP exams are scored on a scale of 1 to 5. Many U.S. colleges grant credit and or advanced placement for scores 3 and above. The AP program conducts studies in all AP subjects to correlate the performance of AP students with that of college students in a comparable college course. These studies help set the cut points that determine how AP student composite scores are translated into an AP score of 1 to 5. There are two diploma distinctions that help our school district letter grade and the school letter grade. The merit and distinction measure is calculated as the percentage of students graduating on time and meeting the requirements of earning merit or distinction as outlined in the Success Ready pathway. On-time cohort grad and completed 3+ advanced placement programs or advanced placement courses with a score of 3 or greater. Oh gosh. In the North Little Rock High School, we are trends this year. In 2026, we had 49% of our students with scores of 3 or greater in our AP exams. That's out of the students that took the exams. Our total AP enrollment did increase by 8, and I see that that will continue to increase with the implementation of our SOAR program on the high school. We're getting more students enrolled in AP classes earlier in their high school career, and so then they will take more as they continue on to 12th grade. The number of exams given to high school students were 601 this year. Students that scored a 3 or greater were 161 students, which was 48%, roughly 49% of our AP population. Our students in 25-26, we had 125 males take an AP exam, 203 females, 146 African Americans, 107 white students, and 47 Hispanic students. Our scoring by subject, there's a couple I do want to highlight. Our English Lang is our AP English Lang, that's our junior class. There's 109 students that took that one exam. In that calculation is also COE students, and COE is mixed in with several of these, but we actually did not have an AP Lang class in the COE, so all of those students were counted in this population. As you can tell, calculus, they were scored very high. We had fewer kids in that, but they did really well. Another one I would like to point out is our pre-cal, AP pre-cal. There's 98 students tested in that. Of those 98, several of them, about 30, were COE students because we do not have an AP pre-cal on the COE on the COE side. And 78% of those total tested in pre-cal were a 3 or higher. AP seminar is 86% was a 3 or higher. Those are a lot of our young SOAR students in the SOAR pathway. That is a required AP class for our SOAR students. In our Center of Excellence, the COE, we had an increase in students taking AP exams and those that scored a 3 or higher. 57% of the COE students scored a 3 or higher on their AP exam. Our total number of AP students actually stayed the same at 115, but our exams increased to 256. So several students had multiple exams they were taking, or AP classes. And 66 students had scores with 3 or higher. In our Center of Excellence, this is just our demographic data. 59 males, 54 females, 26 African Americans, 51 Caucasians, and 22 Hispanic students took tests in the COE. Our computer science, that is only offered in the COE, so there are some high school students that took computer science with a COE teacher. So it's the same as on those COE students taking high school exams. That's why I have English language and pre-cal asterisk right there, because all of those students, every single one of those were under a high school pre-cal or English lang teacher. But they still did very well. And our AP scholars, there's several different categories. You can be an AP scholar, AP scholar with honor, AP scholar with distinction, AP capstone diploma, AP seminar and research certificate, and AP international diploma. And we just got our AP scholars reports on July 10th, so this is brand new numbers that we just got in. And some students are high school and they took a COE class. COE students take a high school class, so it's very interchangeable. On the high school, we had 35 AP scholars this year. AP scholar with honors, 13. AP scholar with distinction, 16. AP capstone diploma, 6. AP seminar and research certificate, we had 1 this year. Number will go up because seminar and research are required as our SOAR pathway, and so we will continue to have more with that AP seminar and research certificate on their diplomas. And the COE, 21 AP scholars, 3 AP scholar with honors, 11 AP scholar with distinctions, 3 AP capstones, and 1 AP seminar and research certificate. I would like to say that on the AP scholars, we have already roughly 16 sophomores and juniors that have already reached this. So in the coming years, these numbers will continue to grow, and it will also help our high school merit and distinction further down the road, so within these next couple of years. And so the next steps, we're going to continue to increase number of students taking AP classes, and we'll increase teacher training at our high school level. We'll empower teachers to utilize the instructional planning report, which is part of the College Board platform, and increase our systematic coordination, encourage underrepresented populations, and we can start that in middle school with our advanced classes in middle school and high school credit, and work on demographic AP enrollment to match our demographic of their school enrollment.
That's it.
That's it.
Yep.
Anybody to my right have a question?
Okay, thank you, first of all,
You're
and welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me the difference between, let me go back to it. AP scholar with honor and an AP scholar with distinction. I remember when I graduated, it was a difference in distinction. I just don't know.
So an AP scholar with honor, they have an average score of 3.25 on their AP exams,
Okay.
and distinction has at least a 3.5 average on their AP exams. And that's with at least 3 or more AP exams taken.
And I think our next steps look good, but can you give me an idea of what we're gonna do, some of the things to increase? It says we're gonna increase. What are some of the things we'll do to increase that number?
Yeah, that's one thing with the SOAR program that we will continue to see that, because all the students in the SOAR program are required to take at least 9 AP courses. And so as we're starting implementing that, last year was our first year for sophomores to do it. So now those sophomores will have 2 years under the belt. So we're going to continue to grow that SOAR program and look at continuing to add those advanced classes in the middle school so they can start those AP classes earlier.
And you saying SOAR, S-O-A-R?
SOAR, yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Can you
Okay.
explain to them what SOAR is, just real quick?
Yes,
Sorry.
so SOAR is a pathway in the school, just like we have medical and construction. So this is a pathway designed for individual students who are just kind of they want just college-ready classes. And so they are trying to get as many AP classes as they can, and this is the SOAR pathway is the way they can achieve that. I'm like drawing a blank of what it stands for.
I am too.
Opportunity readiness. And so they have mentors at the school. There's a couple mentors they have. So it's just this pathway and steps for the kids to reach more AP courses.
So this starts in the beginning when they're building their, I went blank. What's this called? You start school, you get your, what's the little
when
paper you
The
get?
schedule?
Schedule.
Yes.
When they-
Their course
Yes,
choice
it's
schedule.
Yeah,
course
yeah,
choice.
okay.
So at the end of their freshman year, they would decide if they're going to the SOAR program or construction or robotics. They will choose SOAR.
So that's involvement with parents and all of that ahead of time to talk
Yes.
about those. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a real quick question. Is 50% passing that test at 3, is that normal or is that low? Is that high? Is that,
Like with a 3 or higher?
yes.
On several of our categories, we were below the state average.
So half is average across the state? So that's about normal?
Yeah, it's about normal.
Okay, all
Mhm.
right. Thank you.
Any questions, Samantha?
I do have a few. My pen ran out too, so if you got a spare, I'll take it. Thank you. Thank you. How many, and you may not know, so I totally appreciate that. We can follow up on this if we need to. But I was just thinking about all the classes that we offer. How many AP teachers do we have? Do we know, like, how much? And I'm just curious because when we look at one of those plans to increase teacher training, like trying to get a sense baseline right now, like how many teachers do we have that are supporting these students?
Sure, we can look that up. I don't have that number right off the top of my head.
Okay.
And you do bring up a good point. I was going to mention that as well. I know that Dr. Rogers and Dr. Reynolds, as they look at these results, when you see a low number of students, then there might have to be a teacher change, right? In scheduling, saying, hey, you traditionally haven't done that. But you bring up another point, which is AP training, and some of the best training is making sure that they know how the exam is scored.
Right.
And so that, I know our teachers have traditionally done that with some of our newer teachers, but that'll something that we'll have to look into as well, because the more training they have and understanding the test and how that test is scored certainly helps our students.
Right.
The other thing is the seminar. Sometimes a first-year student needs support, especially in writing, where they can have that seminar course at the same time they're taking their AP.
Right.
They almost take them they take them together in tandem to be able to support that. I think it's another thing we'll look into.
Yeah, I know just because I happened to see him on campus earlier this year that like the Cal BC teachers, same one that I had, and people struggled to pass that exam when I was here. So like I know that the state average is very helpful just as a baseline, but that was going to be my next question is like once we see how many teachers we have, their tenure, I think would also be interesting for us to track so that we know, who's new and how to support them.
And I will tell you something on the training that the state of Arkansas has changed is no AP teacher except seminar and research is required to have any AP training.
Yeah, which is
Crazy.
bonkers.
Crazy. So that's
That's
so
not a North Little
But
Rock
that don't mean
we have
requirement,
to do
but that
that.
is a state
that's a
requirement.
state.
Yeah.
So that's something that I would love to start figure out how we can do it for our own teachers in the districts.
And I'm still learning the SOAR program as well, but that was my last question, was just thinking about maybe a degree plan is too intense of a word. I don't want to bring collegiate language down to high school, but how, if a student is top of their class at the end of their 4 years with us in high school, how many college credits could they in theory accumulate?
Well, right now we just started an associate's program, so they could come out of high school with an associate's degree if they do all the things.
All of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's because I think that might be something else for future consideration when we look at these classes, seeing how they're stacking so that we can begin to tell that story of our success and what that looks like in translating to semesters in school.
And
Sure.
the students will have opportunity to get college credit with an AP score. It just
Right.
depends on if the school they're going to takes
Accepts
that.
it.
But you're also referring to concurrent credit. So if I'm
Right.
taking a
Yes.
course at the Pulaski Tech, it's not AP, but I'm still getting college credit towards, which also helps us in our
Automatic.
Success Ready.
So concurrent credits don't count. Wait,
So AP,
right.
right, which
We
the
offer-
correct. But you
Yeah.
can also take a class at Pulaski Tech and get college credit as well.
Right.
Beyond the AP specific course.
So in that degree plan, mindset, we would have another pathway that says even if you don't take our AP classes, you can go to Pulaski Tech and take it. And
Yeah, and that's
similarly.
actually what we just got started with our early college
Right,
program,
right.
which now there's a pathway that you can get an associate's degree
Right.
from Pulaski Tech. By the time you graduate, it's pretty cool, for free.
Right.
And then you could transfer that to the University of Arkansas, but still pay tuition that would be
Here.
at a local,
Yeah.
which is a really good bargain.
Yeah. Okay. Just trying to wrap my head around all the opportunities we have here. But I appreciate the update and
And we'll get those teacher numbers for you for AP, and she can put them in her weekly board report.
yeah, I think it would be good for us to just keep a pulse on it.
Sure.
I know I would enjoy it. Sorry, one more and then I'm done. Swear. With the scholars distinction, did we determine that, or is that state?
That's college board.
Okay, so the 5 different categories.
We can't change any of
Okay,
that.
that's given to us.
Yes.
Got it. By
Yes.
Arkansas.
Arkansas and college board.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Mr. Taylor, do you have a question?
Yes, I noticed that the computer science number the total students was 28. Is that low? Is that normal? Or?
For an AP computer science, that's normal.
Okay.
It is a required, you have to take computer science to graduate, but AP is above and beyond that. So that's that's normal with the amount of kids going into that pathway.
Okay, and I saw that, I think it was something like 5. Scored a 3 above it.
Sorry.
Which would be a question that it's a follow-up to Mr. Taylor. And I don't know, when did we start offering it? Because sometimes when you start offering a new AP program, you're going to grow.
Okay.
You have a small number of kids when you in, and then once you start growing that, you'll see more kids starting to take the course.
Correct. And the AP computer science class has 2 different parts. There's a class project you have to submit, and then you come in for the actual AP test in May. So their grading is very different from just sitting the whole time for a 3-hour test.
Okay. All right. Is that tied to the COE somehow, or is it just if you're in COE, you can choose to be an AP, or does the COE component say that you have to take a test or you have to show some type of competency?
No,
like
if you're
the construction and things like, like the nursing.
no,
and
if
things
you're
like
in
that.
the COE and you would like to take AP Lang or AP Pre-Cal, you can take that. And if you've taken the prereqs for it, then you
Okay.
can take that. It'll just sometimes it might be on the COE side or it might be on the high school.
Okay. And I also noticed that you said there are plans, or you're going to try to increase the population that's underserved or not very many. What underrepresented? What's the plan, or has there been a plan created, or what's going on with that?
We are working on that at the moment. So
Okay. When do you
She's
think
only been on the job since July 1st. So,
Oh, okay.
so give her just a minute, but we're going to get you.
But it didn't transition?
That's 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
But to that point, when you look back, I mean, we've increased the number of African American students from 127 to 146, and that's in the right direction, moving in the right direction.
Okay. What would it be like what would it look like if it was, compared to the student body population? How would that actually look? What's the target number we're looking for? What percentage we're looking for? Or is there one?
A percentage of students. Well,
Yeah, can you scroll down to, I think you had that somewhere. There was a statement. Something about,
well, you got the percentage of students that are scoring 3 or higher,
Yeah.
which is the state. Now, remember, that's state data, so that's
Keep
a
on
lot
going.
more exams that are being given across the state versus here. But one of the things, and this really goes back to what Ms. Theodore was saying about middle school and making sure as kids get more prepared for more advanced coursework that they're able to take those courses sooner. So that's one of the things I know that we're continuing to work on in elementary to middle school to high school, and prepare more kids that traditionally have not taken advanced placement. That's why traditionally you'll see first-time AP students. I don't want to say the easiest AP exam is human geography, but I think everybody knows that that's usually a first step. So that gives kids confidence. The other thing that we've built in for first-time test takers is that seminar or that support course. So think about a kid that needs reading, and we say we got to double dose them. That means they're getting the core course, but they're also getting support. And I think that's another thing to look into is the effectiveness of that research or that writing, or if they need it in that seminar course where they're taking them together as a support, and is that working like it should to increase that child's score of getting a 3
okay.
or higher.
So do we have a target or a number of students we want in the AP program from the different populations?
Yes.
And do we know anything about the male and the female? And are we trying to increase
Well,
those,
Mr.
or-
Taylor, this kind of goes back to our problems of practice and graduation rates and all of that when we look at metrics, because, yes, the short answer is goes back to how the high school calculation of its letter grade. So remember, there's the ELA, the math, and there's biology, but there's also the success ready. So the more kids that take advanced placement, the more kids that take concurrent credit, you get points towards your letter grade. So yes, Dr. Rogers is intimately working with our staff on those performance metrics and success ready to be able to increase those to get more points.
Okay. I'm sorry. Do we have a target, though? What are we trying to increase them to?
Sure, we'll come back. We'll be happy to come
Okay.
back with that.
Okay.
Remember, they're just got these scores, so we just did 3
Okay.
days of intense professional development. And so what our schools are working on, that's the next step with their assistant superintendent, is where were they last year and where do they want to be this year? And they start setting performance targets based on those metrics that are directly tied to the school's letter grade. The high school is the only one that's different from any other school because it has the success ready indicators. And that's where you got the advanced placement, the concurrent enrollment, the merit or the distinction diploma, all those H2 pathways, industry certifications. We get points for all of that stuff. That's why career academies, all that's so important, because that's helping kids towards their graduation. But again, it all comes back to the problem of practice of graduation rates. And yes, we've increased those, but we've got to look at some student groups that needs to increase. So all that is really gets tied together. And so our schools are working on that right now. So as we begin this school year and share those plans with you, more
Okay.
than happy to.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Can I ask one last?
Yes, ma'am.
Define who is, when we say encourage our underrepresented populations, who exactly are we referring to? And how many, and may go back to what Mr. Taylor's asking. I don't know. But it says starting in middle school. So what is that target and who are we looking at?
So we're looking at the students who maybe generally aren't taking those advanced classes but are very capable of doing it. And we have a very good screening process, not a screening process, but a very good system in place in the middle school to get some of those kids in advanced classes that wouldn't necessarily be looked upon as those advanced. And so we're starting that geometry and algebra and geometry in the middle school and physical science to get the students readier.
So like sixth grade middle school? Or are you saying like
We
the
do
seventh
look
grade?
at the sixth grade middle school. That's when we start.
Seeing how far down are we going?
Yeah, we actually start in fifth grade. I went to fifth grade this
Okay.
year and did a
Elementary
math readiness exam to see kind of our projection of what they would look like in 2 years in seventh grade.
So that ties back to your bullet point where it says analyze classes with low performance scores? Or no, is that two separate things? On your next steps?
That was when I was referring to the AP
Okay.
classes at the high
Okay,
school.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
And the other thing, Ms. Barker, you want to look at is sometimes, within families, you might have a student that might be the potential first-time college-going student.
Right.
And so we want to help that student and support them with that whole entire pathway. Also, we've got some hotshot kids in math that are taking algebra and geometry. Well, those kids are going to get to those advanced courses as well. We want to make sure they're taking those advanced courses.
Right, I was saying how are we identifying? I got you. You're absolutely right. We have some geniuses that may not know about these type of courses because it's never been introduced to them. So I was just saying, who is that population and how are we keying in on them to ensure that we're reaching them at an early age?
And that's
And I
Like
like what you said,
in
fifth
fifth
grade.
grade.
So.
yes.
Okay.
Any other question?
Just one clarifying point, and maybe it's for a future one, but when we look at the total number of students, we're testing in 10th grade, so it's 10th, 11th, and 12th graders include that 330?
There may be some ninth graders that
Okay.
human geography is
That's
about the
typically
only class
ninth
For
for
freshmen.
ninth for freshmen.
Good question.
Well, I don't have any questions. I just want to say welcome. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Just clarify, did I miss a slide? Because mine is showing, maybe it was updated. My slide 11 shows percentages and I saw another slide showed numbers. I see that one.
I
high
think
school.
we updated the
'Cause it's saying
slideshows
number of
after it
students, but
was
it's showing
sent to y'all.
percentages.
We
Oh.
found a couple of mistakes, so we you have the newest version, the one up here.
So I need to refresh, because I was looking on
Yes.
the airplane. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Construction update, Colonel Stanger.
Madam Chair, Board, Scott Stanger, Chief of Staff to Superintendent. As we get that going, I'll just start the construction update with construction is officially busy. Yeah, so and what I mean by that is we have finally 3 ongoing projects. I'll start with the latest that you don't see any movement on, but it has started. The asbestos abatement for the police and courts building is done.
Well, I can see the shingles and all that. That they're
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
down,
So that has been complete, and the bids went out, and we have them back for the demolition. That's owner provided, which means we're doing that ourselves. And Shields and Associates have done all the bidding. They've reviewed them all. They made a recommendation, and then they will notify the winner of that bid Monday, and then we'll get the timeline from the construction company and lay out. It's going to be about a total of a 70-day project to knock the police and courts building down and then move all the debris. When that happens, Clark takes over, and they start bringing in all the fill and all the stuff they have to do to level out and build the sports complex. So that project has started. You might have seen Old Main. You can't miss it if you drive by. That project started essentially about 2 weeks ago officially as far as the movement of stuff. And this is where they are pulling, I would say, debris out, stuff that was after the sale. And there's some certain things that we have moved into the high school that certain departments wanted to keep. Everything else in there it's going to wind up going to a landfill. It's just in really, really bad shape. And then you can see on the outside they're already addressing some masonry work as far as cleaning up some leaks that we've discovered in that process. But that's also considered part of the demolition phase. So that's the part where you're going to see more heavy equipment come in, dumpsters. They're filling those things up as fast as they can go. You'll see stuff coming flying out of windows into dumpsters and all that kind of stuff. And this is where they will start tearing down, breaking up concrete, removing walls, all that kind of stuff. So you'll see a lot of movement there. Then you're going to see a lot of movement coming in. As part of that, we've fenced off. They'll use the front entrance as a lay-down yard. So a lot of the stuff you see there in the front, the hedges and that kind of stuff, that will all be wiped out. The grass will eventually be wiped out. And then after the fact, we'll go and put all that stuff in based off some historically correct, or just historical pictures that we have. And we're going to try to keep it up to what the standard was before it was shut down. That overall, I just summed up about a 2-year process, but I just want to the movement has started. The middle school, the big enchilada, if you've been out there lately or seen clicked on the video, building A, the first part of the wing for 7th and 8th, that is, you can see all the yellow panels up. That as soon as the yellow panels get done, they're going to turn green. They're in the process of going to the point that they will put a protective barrier over that. Arkansas, as all y'all know, we excel in humidity. It's a new way to prevent a lot of that moisture coming in, because we fought with some of our older buildings with mold and that kind of stuff. This prevents all that. So you'll see the color changes. And then they've already started on putting the steel and all that for the B section, and then they're going to go to C, and you'll see the whole process. Section A will be in the dry, which means you'll see all the outside movement stop with the exception of bricks and that kind of stuff going up. It looks like it's slowing down. It's because they're doing everything on the inside. And on the inside right now, they're tackling plumbing up and down from first floor and second floor. Basically, if it deals with electricity, and the HVAC systems are all going in as we speak on A. And then they'll go to B for that, and they'll go to C. The topping off ceremony is August the 5th at 3 o'clock. Had a meeting with that. We'll have some follow-up with that, another meeting with Nabholz. Essentially, we picked 3 o'clock. Teachers were back in that day. They can sign beams in the morning, the beam that will go up, and then people can arrive early, sign the beams for the ceremony. We'll have a tent out there, chairs, so y'all and any other VIP that we get in the invite list out that'll show up. We'll have a podium there for speakers. We'll have water, chairs, and all that kind of stuff.
You said 3 o'clock.
Yes, ma'am. For that ceremony. It's going to be a little warm.
Little.
Yeah, I know.
Just a
It's-
little.
Yeah.
And before you go, Ms. Colquitt, if you would not mind making sure that you could send out to all of our school board members, so at least it's on their calendar. Thank you.
And then that's the kind of the ceremony for the topping off of that building. We'll do that with each building, and then of course when the whole thing's done, have a grand ribbon cutting. The other thing with the middle school you'll see right now are some temporary construction roads. If you go by it, and you'll see like gravel strips going into parking lots that don't exist and some trees knocked down. We have to have those to be able to bring in equipment and other heavy items, more steel, that kind of stuff. And we block those off during pickup, drop off for car riders and the buses. So there's one way in and one way out traffic. When they're not doing that, we can control it and open it up, and construction stuff can go in and out with disrupting the school or any other kind of traffic pattern. The only thing to add to that is the one that goes behind the school on the west side. That would be the one behind the cafeteria. You know, that road that goes back there and stops. It now goes all the way, it's gravel, but it goes all the way to where the 6th grade campus is now. That will eventually be turned into a permanent road where the buses will come in, there'll be a circle, they can circle and go right back out. But that is currently built in as a construction route. So they can get the stuff in and out dealing with the 6th grade campus itself.
Hang on, Colonel. Could you just push on the live feed, please? If you go back up to the live feed on the...
Scroll back up, please.
Yep.
Up. No, I think miss the link down a little bit. That's
Right
it right there.
If you could click on that for us, please.
The blue button.
Yep.
Yeah.
Progress. Even got the stairs in.
Yeah, so there again, that is the B wing. A is on the other side, and then what you will see, and we're just calling it A, B, and C during construction. You'll see a lot more yellow up in there. Again, that's going to start turning green, and then they'll start working on the inside of it, like I call it in the dry. So if it rains, nothing in there gets wet. Projected right now, the 1st of September, and then it will just cascade down until the project's done, and then we'll start doing. We'll go down the road, you know, we'll knock another building down, we'll knock some gyms down and start building new stuff up. By the time it's done, everything will be new except for the cafeteria. And in the cafeteria during this project too, we're installing tinting for the windows, and we're also installing a line, basically rails. So there's a more organized queue when the kids come in. That will be done here pretty soon. They can come in and you can, like at parks and stuff, you know, where you zigzag, where you can control the line, it just can go out the door or whatever. So all that's going in as part of a little bit of refurbish for the cafeteria.
Any questions to my left?
I was trying to access the link. One of these links is broken that referenced the bids in the agenda. I just in real time was trying to look at it. Is that broken for you? Because I was just trying to compare the sports complex, right? That's what the abatement is for.
Mm-hmm.
The bid price to the, it's 18 million, right? Is the budget for the sports complex?
22.
Okay, we have 18 million on the website, so we should update that too. But I'm just trying to keep the numbers straight, right? And so what is the bid tonight? What's the price on that for the abatement? Do you know it?
Oh, the abatement off the top of my head.
Because I can't open it on our,
Are you talking about the consent agenda?
All right, no, so I know what you're talking about. So just the abatement part, that part is complete. You're asking what the price
Okay.
was that we paid for that?
because there's below the yellow pages on tonight's construction update, there's another link that had a bid. There were 5 that went out, and I can't open it though.
That's on purpose.
Okay.
Because that bid, that hasn't been, we haven't released that. We haven't released some of those bids yet. If you're talking about like for the demolition of the courts and
For tonight's information item, when I looked at it yesterday, there was a contract that we were also reviewing for what I thought was the sports complex. No?
In the...
Yeah, it was linked in the agenda.
The
Okay.
yellow sheet.
No? Okay. I'll move
looking
past
at
it.
the
I'll go
Yeah.
find it. It's on my desktop, but okay.
So-
In 13.7, which is business construction items consent agenda, which is live. It is the last, it's 13.7,
You talking about
construction,
the link on the
financial items.
Yeah, it just says this policy has been deleted and is no longer available. Yes, that one, Mr. Taylor. I guess the long story short is I'm just trying to find the right links to track timeline and budget. And so if there's a universal document where we're tracking all three projects, I've
There
seen
are
one
th- there-
version.
There are, yes and no. There
Okay.
are actually 3 different ones.
Okay.
Each one has its own timeline and
Yeah.
its own budget.
Okay.
So
And do we have access to those?
we have not linked that. We can.
Okay, just as
Yep.
an oversight,
Oh,
when
oh,
we're
no,
trying to
and we c-
compare budget to
And I certainly,
actual.
yeah, all that's public up to the bidding process,
Right,
obviously.
which I don't want to.
But sure,
Okay.
sure. No, we can, we'll build some links and put that in there, sure.
Okay, that'd be
Yep.
helpful. And then on the website, I just wanted to circle back to that because I do think that maybe some of those numbers need to be updated and some of our updates need to be added for
What
the
I'll-
other two projects.
Okay, what we'll do is I'll get that and send them to you, and then we'll put them in there,
Okay.
okay?
Any other to my left?
I'm gonna-
To my right?
When you said 70 days, will that be completion over here, or we'll start that in 70 days?
Completion, once it starts, the demolition of police and courts is right now estimated to be 70 days.
Okay.
Some 60, 70, somewhere in there, from the first
So with
bulldozer
school
hitting it.
in, it won't affect the students walking and coming by that area?
No,
and-
all that stuff, they'll fence it off and that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
And we'll do it to minimize any kind of traffic pattern issues or whatever. But when that happens, the contractors, we coordinate with the city
Gotcha.
to take care of all that. Mhm.
I just was looking at all that. Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be the easy part over there. The hard part's going to be bringing all the field and actually building it. Because that's the slope, there's a 12-foot difference from the field all the way to where that's going to be built. If you
They will be working while school in progress.
Absolutely.
So all that noise, yes.
we
I
have
know,
cracked
I
we
know.
have cracked the code with Nabholz on that one.
You did what?
We've cracked the code with the
Oh.
noise and stuff that they're doing during testing. There's other the principals. I'll just use middle school as an example. The principals talk to the site supervisor there, like if, hey, we're doing testing, we're doing this, and they will stop what they're doing, and they won't do deliveries, and they'll knock off construction during those times, and then they'll pick it back up. Sometimes once they've gone over a weekend, if there's been some rain delays, fortunately we haven't had any of those built in yet. They call it, we have rain slowdowns, we don't have rain stoppages. So
You probably described it, but I know when we would go over to the middle school to help the buses, how is that gonna flow? You remember how the buses would come in and they'd be all up there?
You mean?
But now we
they're
got
doing-
all that construction
They're doing
when
the
it's
same-
when it's,
when school starts.
as in next couple weeks?
Yes.
Yeah, they'll still be in the bus parking lot.
it's the
and
same thing, it's just shorter.
Oh, okay, 'cause
So
I
the
know
bu-
they were all the way up.
So
Okay.
what they
I was
do
just
is
trying
now
to
they come in,
visualize that.
they would go all the way up and make the loop around.
Right.
Now they come in and make a shorter loop around.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that will not change this year.
Oh, Lord.
Any other questions? I just have one. I guess it kind of goes back to what Ms. Barker was talking about. As far as the courts building and the tearing down, that's going to be loud. So have we did a courtesy, or will we do a courtesy to the neighbors that construction is going on?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just saying.
Yes, ma'am.
We can let the businesses
I live
know.
far
Yeah.
enough away.
Got it.
But
I got
I
it.
can still hear I can know when the train comes, I can hear that. So I
Mhm.
know that when the construction starts with them tearing that down, that's going to be loud.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I know we have senior homes right there.
We can take care of that.
If we can at least let them know that construction is going on, because I don't want to scare a
Mhm.
senior
Mhm.
with the noise.
Can do.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. 12.1.
We're down to action items. The first one is 12.1, school year 26-27, election to continue operating the USDA Special Provision Community Eligibility Provision. Can you try to shorten that stuff?
CEP.
Madam President, members of the board, I'm Robert Guinea, the Child Nutrition Director for the third or fourth meeting in a row. Goodness.
It's on a roll, man.
Hey,
Let's
short,
go.
sweet, to the point.
Yep.
So tonight, there we go. Purpose of tonight is I need to come before and ask permission for a new base year. We operate under CEP, which allows us to feed all of our children at no cost. That program is a base year and then 3 following years. During that time, we continue to monitor our socioeconomic data, and if it swings for the better, we can reestablish a base year and lock in for a new 4 years. So even though we established a base year last year, the data has improved in this area, and we'd like to lock in for a new 4 years. Basically, under CEP, we look at all of our identified students. So these would be students that qualify for food stamps, Medicaid, Medicare, so programs where they qualify through a third party. We take all of that student data, we divide it by our enrolled students, multiply it by 100, you get an ISP percentage. That percentage has increased from last year. So previously we were at 83%. With the data that was just certified, we're at 91.6%. And so with that increase in percentage, I'm coming before you tonight to say, pretty please, let's start a new 4-year cycle. We'll stay on top of this, because what it means for my program is it's about $335,000 of additional funding just to feed our kids. Same students that we were feeding, but instead of getting 83% at the highest reimbursement rate, now we'll get 91% at that rate. So previous cycles, so going back in history a little bit, we were at 88.61, kind of coming out of COVID. That's roughly $5.6 million in revenue for the child nutrition program. We had to do a mandatory base year because it's only good for 4 years. So we ran that 4-year cycle. We had to do one. We did that again in 24-25. At that time, we saw a pretty significant reduction in our free and reduced. So as families came out of COVID, they didn't sign back up for benefits because they were entitled to benefits without really doing a lot of effort. Pretty significant reduction in the funding for the cafeteria program. Following that, we did a new base year that we just finished closing out, and that got us back to the 83.62. So last year, my first year here, really working within my office, working with wraparound services, and working with our schools to identify students, because if a family qualifies, and we had 2 students that were listed on the direct cert list, but we know Johnny lives in that same household, you can extend benefits. And so as we really mapped out and made sure that we were tracking all of our families accurately, we were able to pick up an additional 8% here. And so that got us to this 91.66%. The state has come in, they've audited our records, they validated them, said, yes, you did everything right. So it's one of the few times that I'm asking permission to do something when I already know the outcome. We've already locked in the almost 92%, but now I need permission for us to establish that base year, which would then lock in this increased funding for the next 4 years. So 26, 27, and then take us all the way out to school year 29-30. Next steps or future efforts, we're going to continue to monitor this, because that's one of the benefits of CEP. As we see the numbers flow, if we come in and we're at 91.7% next year, I'll be up here saying, hey, let's do this again, because it locks in, it kind of pushes out that 4-year window for 1 more year. If we come in at 91.5%, we still have 3 more years on this cycle, and we'll just keep watching it. We kind of set all this in April 1st, and so at the end of the academic year, towards the end of the academic year, we'll start identifying what our percentage looks like, so we can make that determination if we need to come before the board or not. You know, it's one of those deals, as long as I can keep as many years out in front of me where I know I'm on the program, and as soon as we ever see the percentages start going down, we start the timeline of what does this look like for the cafeteria program. You know, do we have to change our menus? Do we have to change things? Because as our funding comes down, then we have to balance our expenditures with it. But the biggest thing is, you know, this is basically a no-cost request, but I need your permission to go into a new base year. Because if the numbers went the other way, y'all need to be aware, hey, child nutrition's dealing with a financial hardship. And that's it. Short, sweet, to the point.
Any questions to my right?
Does the rate stay, as you show here, rate is locked in for 26, 27, 27, 28? Even if we have the decline in students or increase, it's there, we're
The
locked in.
91.6% would be locked in, so our enrollment up, down, we would be locked in at 91.66%
To 2030.
till 2030, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I appreciate your diligence on that, but I have a question. I know that with this money, you've had quite a bit excess that you've used very well, and there's a lot going on in there. Do you have an idea how much extra? I guess what I'm thinking, you in the board report, you're having trouble hiring
Yes,
because of wages. So I'm wondering, because you're a separate unit that collects money by itself, is there any money in there to help you with that?
We are sitting on a surplus, and obviously, this would be additional revenue coming in. So I would love to bring a salary increase or a wage increase for child nutrition staff. We can self-fund it. We can sustain it with our program. And this is $335,000 that could be used towards that.
Okay. Well, I would love to see what you feel like you would need and what you feel like you could support.
Yes, ma'am. I'll run it.
So the 335 is over.
Above and beyond,
Above
yes, ma'am.
The 5.8. Okay. I noticed what it say, but I want to just ask.
Any questions to me?
So
Been fine.
just so I'm clear, it would get us to 5.8 for next year. Current year, we did
Saw that.
5.5.
0.5 and then 4.8 and 5.7.
Yes, ma'am.
What's a claiming percentage?
So the way we operate, because every student is served at no cost, we don't get to claim 100% of the meals at free rate. So the USDA reimburses us based on free, reduced, and paid. So a free student, they pay, right now it's at $4.78. A reduced student, if we were in a pricing school district, the reduced student would pay 40 cents. Federal government would pick up $4.38. So a 40-cent decline. Then a paid student, the federal government only gives us about 42 cents for them. And so our claiming percentage means if I serve 1,000 students, 916, I would get to claim at that highest rate. The other 8% and change, I only get 42 cents a meal for.
Okay.
So the higher that claiming percentage goes, the closer it gets to maximizing my reimbursement.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense to me. I've had broader questions about this because we say this, right, in the community that we're at 92% free and reduced lunch. Like, people know that as a KPI. And I think in some cases it's one of these, it's good for us from a funding perspective, but from a community perspective, it's heartbreaking, right? So it's like not something I want to celebrate going up necessarily. But do we have any, I guess there's no leverage for us as far as reducing that number. There's no incentive for us to try to reduce. Okay. All right.
You need some job.
It's a catch-22, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
It's a good
Why
thought.
shouldn't it be right?
Well, and do we know what it is for North Little Rock broadly? Like, what's
city?
yeah, as a city?
limits? I do not.
Okay.
So looking
I'll
at
look, maybe
census,
that'll be a personal research project. Thank you.
looking at census data and those things is where you
Yeah.
can drive
So
some
the
of it.
census will tell you, like,
Right.
You know, and you obviously, there are neighborhoods that trend higher or lower than others, but when it comes to this, we look at, it's kind of all or none. I know my experience with Little Rock School District, because they've been on CEP, but they can only do it in clusters. So, Southwest Little Rock possibly
Okay.
could be CEP, but West Little Rock may or may not.
Right.
We're fortunate that we're doing it across the board.
Okay.
So all of our students get the same benefit. They're all eating at no cost. So we can extend that to all of our families.
Even though building level, those percentages obviously vary.
They all fluctuate,
yeah,
yes, ma'am.
because of just geography.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So what additional things can we do now that we have a higher rate? Or what other type things can we do for the population?
So
Since, it's if it's going to be there.
that's one of the catch-22s of child nutrition. My funding is strictly stays within Fund 8,000. I can't do anything else with it for the district other than we can keep reinvesting it into the program. So we're paying for all the equipment repairs and those things this summer, you know, the new equipment, anything like that, we're tying back just to give our students the best experience that I can absolutely fund. You know, we run some of the highest food costs here that I've run in my 25-year career, but we can afford to do so. We have hungry students, and so, you know, the feds may come and get on to me, but I don't care if we give an extra salad. I'm pushing as much food out as we can, because I just don't see the obesity in our school district that I've seen in other places. So with that, this 92% really increases, you know, the child nutrition funding, which then stays within that program when we reinvest it. There may be some other categorical funding, which is Mr. Brown's going to have to look into and see, does this drive anything else with any other fundings? But I just can only speak to child nutrition.
One particular thing I was thinking about is food that they can take home, food that we can offer when they're out on
Backpack
breaks,
program.
and even possible food during the summer.
So
I don't know if that's an option,
Yes,
but
sir.
that's what I was thinking about.
summer feeding and those programs we can do. We have run a summer program. We did a more robust program this year than we have in previous, and that's something I want to continue to look at growing. As far as a backpack program or those things, federal regulations don't allow me to buy the food and send it out. I mean, they have a whole list of what is allowable and unallowable cost. That's unallowable for the program, but because we're at that percentage, we may qualify for a grant, or we may be able to look at other partnerships because we are at such a high rate.
Can you look at that for me?
I'll look and see what I can find out.
Okay. And next time, if you would, just let me know.
And it may be something also with like wraparound services, because that's where like we start merging these efforts. So us as a child nutrition program, this is what I'm doing, but once again, we're representing the community, and that may trigger these grants or these other opportunities.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
We also have the support at the academy with food for our families that they can go in and get
Yes, ma'am.
items.
Okay.
For clarity, so we were doing it every year at first, the base.
So we did a base year, as far as I can tell, back in 21-22. They locked in that rate, and they were on CEP for 4 years consecutively.
Okay, so this is
At the end of the
first,
4 years, it sunsetted,
it.
and they were forced to stay on CEP. I guess they weren't forced to stay on CEP, but they chose to stay
Got
on
it.
CEP. But the percentages had drastically changed, so that was $1 million reduction in their funding.
Got it. That
And
makes
then we said, okay, we can't afford to sustain this at 66%. We went back, recertified, we got it to 83. And the course of doing business, like, well, it increased again, let's certify again, because it keeps that fourth year out in the future.
Makes sense. That makes sense. And just for clarification, the money has to be spent on the students.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
can't use the money to fund PD.
It has to stay within child nutrition. So,
Gotcha.
you know, when we look at the funding, I mean, y'all have got fund 1,000, 2,000. I am fund 8,000, and everything I do stays within that.
I just wanted it said because
Yes, ma'am.
you talk about food and nutrition and all that. And the surplus, and to make sure that surplus has to be spent on, is restricted to the students.
Yes, ma'am.
Just wanted to put it out there. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move that we accept doing a recalibration of our CEP.
Madam President?
It has been properly moved and seconded that we approve the 26-27 election, this CEP. I'm just going to cut it off to CEP. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Go forth.
Thank you.
Feed the
Thank you.
children, feed the children.
Yeah.
12.2, new and revised board policies.
So, Madam President, these have come before you both. We'll take the personnel policy will be first, and then the attendance policy. We'll start with the personnel policy first. Certainly, our staff is here to answer any questions. I would like to add, in speaking with Ms. Scott, we had a great dialogue. She's had some great suggestions. I would like to suggest some modifications if this is approved to modify the language as a reminder that the policy applies to all employees, which includes me to everybody else. And also that if there was ever a concern about a supervisor, that employee has the opportunity to go to HR in confidentiality to be able to express what their concern is, or use the chain of command if it is about that individual. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
So if it is adopted, I would request that it is adopted with those two changes.
So that would remove where it says responsible office as chief of staff, or am I
No,
not
that's just,
understanding what you're
that's,
saying?
so what she's referring to is just a reminder. So remember that all of our policies apply to all of our employees. But I think it's some in some of the language, like, does this apply to my supervisor? So every policy applies to every employee. But I think just adding some specificity as a reminder that this applies to everyone. And the second thing was, if there was a concern of professionalism by somebody's supervisor, do they have to go to the chain of command? We would prefer they go to their supervisor, because eventually that supervisor is going to have to be, but they can go to HR anytime they want, if they feel more comfortable going to HR rather than going to that supervisor. But just realize that the supervisor eventually is going to have to get involved because it deals with their subordinate. And I think it was just to clarify some language. I'll let Ms. Scott
Yeah,
speak.
on the professionalism policy specifically, that was a request that I had, was for those two, to emphasize those 2 points.
And I'm
Which one? The
Yep.
first, that's the other.
Both the professionalism policies, we have 2 of them.
Professionalism.
Yeah,
That one?
one to license and one to classified, and they're just about the same from what I read. There's like one reference that's different in the license that references the Arkansas ethics, but
Yes, ma'am. So if you read licensed and classified professional policy, they read identical. With the exception on the license side, it does reference Arkansas State ethics for educators. Right. Obviously, that doesn't apply to classified. So that's the only difference between the two.
other than adding these two
Correct.
amendments.
Correct.
That will be in both.
both.
Correct. Yeah, and those will be in both. Other than that, they are all identical except for the one specific thing for educators.
So with the amendments, has our CPPC and LPPC had the opportunity to look at this with the additions, or? I know they off from work right now.
So they have had this policy in their hands since December, and it has gone through several revisions. And then with that, the board always has the ability to add an amendment
Right, I understand that.
during an action item.
Is this what we saw in April?
This is
Same
what you.
policy we saw in April?
Yep,
With
There's
the
no
exception of-
changes other than the two amendments that we're talking about tonight?
that is correct.
Is this the one we talked about adding a point so that I think that was the,
So we're going to
Classified.
We're going to
That's
get to that one.
attendance. That'll be next.
Attendance.
I went too fast?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we're getting to that one.
I've
This
been
is-
looking at
One at a time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you about the professionalism. Seriously, this the license one we on, right?
Yeah.
Licensed staff.
Or classified, yeah, they're the same.
But they're going to be the same, okay?
Yeah.
Because I do remember us asking, why didn't we have one for license? So thank you
Mhm.
for that. And I know you reference in here that it's also in the handbooks, portion of it.
Portions of it are,
Right.
that is correct.
So just help me understand the need for this piece. Are we having these type of massive concerns with professionalism? I'm just.
Yes, ma'am, we
I need
are.
to understand
so
why
we have. So I've been here for 19 months now and have dug through every policy we have. It's simply in the job description. And based off of that, I have seen little snippets of professionalism or attendance or some, we have leave policies that are disjointed depending on what group you're in. They are not the same for whatever reason. And some of these date back, we have had one that date back to 1991. And so as we go through this, just for clarity, it is so much easier to pull it into one source. So our managers, and go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Tatiana Parker, manager at Ridge Road Elementary.
Manager for
With
food
Food
nutrition.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
she's here just to represent our entry-level supervisors. So what they would have to do right now, if they have to address one of these issues, is go through several different documents, a couple different sources, and if it involves a student, now there's a student handbook, an employee handbook, and stuff scattered over a lot of policies. What this does is it simplifies it so our entry-level supervisors, whose job is based upon somebody else doing their job, which is important. They pay their bills based off somebody else that they supervise. This provides a tool for them, one-stop shopping, to address issues when they arise. And ma'am, to address that, we did training today, and I watched, during a brief, some unprofessional behavior. And I was just like, and this is in front of everybody, including the other leadership that was there. So does this happen? It happens, absolutely.
Okay, like under the gossip and rumors,
Mm-hmm.
how will we investigate spreading malicious office gossip or publicly criticizing colleagues or supervisors? Who would would that be the supervisor looking into that? Is that HR looking into that?
It depends on the level. So we have investigative procedures that we follow for everything. Most of that is handled at the building level with a supervisor up through a principal. However, if it's egregious, it could go to a formal investigation, just like anything else we do. That's a judgment call. Most of that kind of stuff, though, was handled at the building level. There's been times where HR and myself have gone into mediation with people just over that kind of stuff, and there was no policy or anything that governed that. We just did that on our own to get people, in lack of a better word, adults to get along.
So, well, Ms. Barker, it has to start at the lowest level with the supervisor if that is a concern. Then it has to be based on facts, and based upon investigation would take it from that point. There could be instances where rumors, whatever the case, it starts to create a disruption to the work environment. Then that certainly has the supervisor's authority to be able to do something about it. That's kind of 101 as it relates to the function of a department or school.
And I get that as a master holder HR person. I do understand, but I also understand how we could fall into litigation if we're not careful about who judges this or who investigates this or who does this, because I've seen that in my, experience where just because this person didn't care for that person, they did things of that, and that was supervisor level.
Yes,
so I just
ma'am.
want to make sure there's no loopholes to open up.
In that policy, it also talks about exactly that. It talks about false allegations. It talks about weaponizing. So essentially, a procedure, as the way that policy could be enforced in the future, is that if somebody's doing that, and a supervisor discovers that, and that it was done maliciously, you have, by this policy, the ability to go after the person that did that malicious attack.
So if the employee has a problem with the supervisor spreading gossip, who do they go to?
They
HR?
go up. They can go to HR, and they can go up
just
the
like
next
we
chain.
talked
that
about.
happens also.
That's just
That's-
like we talked about. That's
right.
why
That's-
the adding the language that, remember, you can go to HR for any time for anything, but if you're not comfortable going to that next person's supervisor, we'll make sure that there's explicit language that's a reminder that you could go to HR. If you don't feel comfortable going, let's just say it's the principal. If you're not going comfortable to the assistant superintendent, you can go to HR anytime and ledge your concern around whatever the allegation of the behavior is.
So is HR involved in the development of this, or they'll just be
yeah.
told this how it's working?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
'Cause
ma'am.
I've never seen her up here talk to us about
Yes, ma'am. They were instrumental in that.
Okay.
hmm And then there again, it goes through the whole policy development committee process. Yeah. So there were several hands and minds involved in these.
Last question. Is our staff aware of this policy? Have they made any comments about this? Because to come back and this is what we're doing now. You can't do, if this happened, and it's just me talking, you almost make a person in fear of working to a degree, fear of what I'm going to get in trouble about. We have nothing incentivizing the work of our employees, so that's why I wanted to know, are they aware of it?
So remember, we've started this back in December, so that's the role of the
I didn't get it to March, so okay, December.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
hang on, but let me
Okay.
explain. So it's gone to CPPC and LPPC. They represent both all the classified personnel, as you know, Ms. Barker,
Right.
and the license. So it's their responsibility to make sure they're communicating with those that are licensed. And this has been ongoing for the last 6 or 7 months. So employees do have an opportunity to read those notes, to be able to talk to their local representative if they have a concern, which is all part of the process.
I got it. And you're right, I understand that. I just think something that I don't know if I was still an employee, I'd like to have this pushed to me beyond my group, like an email showing what we're looking at, but I don't know if that's how the process works, but that's just me to say, because I'm very aware that people are you get more buy-in when they feel they were included versus just telling me this is what we're doing now.
So
But I understand what you're doing, but I just think when we think about, as our mission and all of that says, how we care about our staff and everybody, I don't have a problem with a policy. But I just want to make sure everybody is, so you don't get a lot of pushback or, people upset and all of those things that can happen as well.
Sure, I
So-
just wanted to clarify that, as Colonel started with, this has gone through several revisions because we've listened to employees. We've listened to both groups and brought back and made some adequate changes to that.
Do you have any questions?
Not on the professionalism.
So, the honest broker in this, let's say it happens. Who decides, yes, this is a valid case? We're gonna go next step. Is it the supervisor? Is it the manager? Is it HR? Is it a combination? But, it could go from any direction.
Who's the referee?
Yeah.
Okay, the referee.
Who called the play?
Yeah, okay. There's two processes. Okay, the referee, the supervisor says, hey, I think this is some kind of unprofessional conduct, and I'm going to take some kind of action. So that's going to, let's say, a principal AP, something at the building level. They have the ability to act on that based off their judgment and what they think is egregious. So we just did a big brief today on progressive discipline, from just a verbal warning at the building level all the way to a letter of reprimand. Anything past that automatically, by default, has to come to HR, because then it becomes in the superintendent's purview. So that's that process. However, if Principal Stanger all of a sudden decides that Teacher Ginder did something I thought was unprofessional, and I give him, I don't know, a written warning, he has the ability, he goes, well, boss, I disagree with you. He has the ability to now go to my assistant superintendent and have that discussion. That's one route. And or file a formal grievance that forces my hand to have to go back and look at it and reevaluate. And I can say, well, I still disagree with you. Or, you're right, I didn't think about that, and then handle it. In that grievance process, if I say no, then it goes to the next level and could eventually would wind up with the superintendent. So there's two routes for any of that. And almost every policy, not everyone, but almost everyone we have is grievable. Obviously, board policies and some of those for the government, some of that, and there's a couple personnel actions you can't grieve, but
Which includes discipline. I just want to be
Right.
clear on that.
right. So there's automatically two routes built into the system that the school district used for a really long time, and the whole grievance policy is a separate policy that governs just that.
Okay. So those two options is outside this policy, but everybody knows that they have those two options.
Those two options exist for every policy we have.
Okay. All right. I'm good. All right. Thank you.
Universal.
Thank you.
Sure.
Because there were additions or modifications, we're going to split it and not do a vote for all of the policies. We're going to do the professionalism first, and then we'll come back and do the attendance.
Just
So-
make sure that it's classified in the license when you vote on that, because they'll both be changed.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a motion
Madam
to
President,
approve?
first, can you tell me where some of the revisions that we made to it?
Not the
The
addition.
addendums are,
Would he just, yes.
okay, anything prior to the two addendums that Dr. Paluski just read? When we say it's been revised,
So,
Because I know when you brought it to us, we asked for it to be
yes, ma'am.
revisited.
So the amendment on the table will be for you to vote on this policy with the 2 amendments we're going to put into it.
I got that.
Okay.
But when we talk about revisions from the first time you brought it to us,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe I'm still on the other one, the one with the points.
Okay,
I
so you're,
think-
okay.
I think
Okay.
so.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I thought all of them said they had been revised based on when you brought them to us. So I'm just making sure I'm not missing the revision, because to me, revision means you went back to and
Every
took
time
some.
that we've brought those, I believe that.
So the
I just don't have that other one. in
okay,
front of
the
me to make
last
comparison.
policy that you've seen, which is this one that you're voting on, that one has not been revised since April.
Okay.
Up to that point, from December to April, many hands had touched it, and it has been changed several times based off feedback, input, and that kind of stuff, and going scrubbed through the Policy Development Committee.
So you
So-
just answered the question. Now I was asking, not
Yes.
since April.
Correct.
That's what I was asking.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All
It's,
right.
this is the exact same one that you saw as an information item in April.
And just to, before we go for vote, because part of what I was bringing up today was in our last, when this came forward as an information item, we did have a lot of discussion
Right.
about the tone of it even.
Yeah.
And that's largely, I mean, it's the exact same. And so when I went offline and was looking at other recommended, the drafts that CPPC had put together and some of the other feedback, that's part of why I approached Dr. Paluski about like, hey, can we add these amendments to cover the fact that this applies to everybody, right? Because there's some concern on that. It does. And that HR is an avenue if you want confidentiality in appealing, to your superiors. So I guess all I'm trying to say is my feedback from the last time we saw this, part of where I hope it is addressed is in these amendments that we've suggested tonight, because they are the same documents as what we saw the first time.
And good, thank you for that. Just give me one example of oversharing personal life detail. Yeah, if it's too bad, don't worry. I'm a talker.
Okay.
So I might be in a room with my coworkers, so I want to see what we're saying. And maybe HR can help me with that, how we would look at that. I'm serious, because
Right.
I may tell you how good God been to me.
Yeah, go ahead.
You might think that's,
Ms. Barker, I work in a profession
Okay.
that is 95% women.
okay.
Sometimes I walk into a conversation that a group of women are having, that personal, medical, or whatever, that I don't need to be a part of. And the way I see it, there's two things. If I still need to be in the room, then I need to speak up and say, hey, can y'all not have this conversation? It's above board. It's a fine conversation.
So right there, you would say that first before they hit this right here.
Absolutely.
If
Oh,
they
yeah.
continue.
If they continue, this is.
Because see, the way I read it is if they do it, you're in trouble.
No, ma'am.
There-
Okay.
You
there-
still
there-
have to follow the
I know, but
progressive discipline
Right.
process.
I got all that, but
which-
I understand in real time what could happen. I
Leadership.
know what papers say, but
Leadership
I
always
work.
has discretion. The bottom line is, so it's going to boil down to leadership, and leaders that are hired, that are paid, that are entrusted, that are trained are going to have to make judgment calls.
And I get all that, and I'm not pushing in it. I love the amendments, but I want to be on the record saying I know that we can say these things, but it still can be subjective, and you can still have leaders that do it simply because they can.
Yes, ma'am. And
So
then,
that's all
then
I'm
what
saying.
happens is that becomes the next higher leader's issue to deal with.
Right, right, right.
That's right.
But
And
could
we
that
know
happen?
sometimes that's closer to each other than that one at that lower level. So I'm just making sure, as an elected person, that I'm asking the right questions for our staff, because I know if it was me, I would want to know that I'm supported regardless of who is overseeing it, because we all know it just sometimes depends on who like who, if you just want to be real. But I got it. I like the amendment showing that it makes everybody.
I understand.
Just want to make sure you understand. I know all of that stuff you all saying. I got a degree with the HR as well, but I know those are things I look at to make sure it's fair and equitable
Yep,
and
that's-
a
that's-
level of integrity with
That's,
everybody.
that's a fair point.
Is there a motion for the professionalism?
Can you one time say the amendments again for me so I can hear what they are, Dr. Lewis, whoever gave them to me?
Sure. Ms. Scott has requested language, just to clarify, that all policies apply to all employees. And I would also say they apply to all school board members as well. That's not in there, but I'm just saying that as you
Throwing it
know.
out there.
Absolutely.
Just so I'm
Yeah,
saying
same
that,
standard.
Yeah.
that when you
That's
take
by
a
law.
vow, that's,
Yep.
That's
you're,
right.
you're
That's right.
all of our held to the same accountability. And the second thing is just making sure that if an employee has a concern about their supervisor being unprofessional, that they can either go directly to HR, which they can on anything, or they can go to the supervisor, meaning the chain of command. We'll come up with that language, but in general sense, that's the essence of it.
In point of order, can we turn the arrow? It's hot. Thank
is.
you. Okay.
It is
thank you,
hot.
Thank you.
Sure. It's hot.
Good, I didn't hear that.
Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the new policy for professionalism for the LPPC and CPPC with the addendum that it applies to everybody, and then the ways that you can grieve it if you feel like you have
Or report it.
reported.
Yes, ma'am.
Second.
It has been properly moved in second that we approve the professionalism policy for LPPC and CPPC with the amendments. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Now down
Thank you.
to attendance.
So, Madam President and members of our board, as it relates to this one, and I thank again Ms. Scott for bringing this up, and this did come to a school board meeting, and we did miss it, but I believe it was brought up about that the attendance, the points or so forth, reset themselves every year. So we would put language in there that effective July 1st, it gets reset. Had that right, Ms. Scott?
Yes. And then we had also talked about linking the grievance
Oh, yes.
process.
Yes, thank you for that. That would include just to, because that was a point of clarity. Let's say for an employee disagrees with the points that they got, an employee can grieve any policy. So we would put language in there that would be effective to the grievance policy 3.25, which is grievance policy for license, and 8.19, which is the grievance policy for classified, as a reference that these are available options for an employee if they may have a disagreement about the calculation in the policy as it's stated.
Am I
So
looking at the
we're-
right one? 8.86?
8.19.
Oh, Lord.
So there's two. There's one in license and there's one in classified.
So
So-
there's two amendments to this one as well,
Mm-hmm.
We're on
which
classified
is,
right now?
yes.
This one is only, in
That's-
the attendance is only classified.
Attendance.
Correct.
Yeah. It was
At the top it says
8.86.
policy 8.86.
It is.
correct.
It is.
Number.
It,
Okay.
that
That is
policy number is
correct.
8.86.
The ones that Dr. Polisky was just outlining are what we're going to link. So that's the grievance process.
So what we'll do in the future is for every new policy that is grievable,
We'll
we'll
link it.
add that
Link.
in there.
Add the link.
If we were to go back in time and do all the other ones, that's 3 years of work.
Yeah.
Going forward,
But-
every time we have
Sure.
a policy.
We're
We'll
going
add
to
it.
reference
Put
that.
the-
That is correct.
And part of it was feedback that what if I disagree with the points I'm assigned? What do I do?
Sure.
And so that
And they have a right to
there's a
leave that.
process for
Mhm.
that.
Yep.
That we want to make sure everyone remains informed of.
So are we going to ensure that employees are given this information day one of employment? I mean, start of
Mhm.
school? Or when when they get in trouble, they'll get it?
If it's approved, yes.
I've seen
You
it.
don't
I've
know.
seen
You-
this.
No.
Y'all know I'm telling you.
No, man, we're not doing that.
It-
We'll get it out to everybody. So everybody's going to wind up, they have to, every employee
Sign off.
sign off
Sign the
on, well,
handbook.
they sign off on, they have to sign off on a handbook, and we do that. Any new policy, we'll put that in there, and it's, I mean, not the handbook itself, but when they sign off handbooks and all that kind of stuff.
And it will also,
We load
there's
this
a
up.
training component, right? So each of
Yeah.
our department heads will do training to make
With
sure
staff.
their
Mhm.
staff, and then if it's managers, then those individuals. So everybody's clear. We want to make sure that everybody understands the policy and the expectation.
And to add to which this question has been brought up, where's the one for the license side? We're working on that. License is unique though, because being salaried and some schools report at different times. There's nuances in that one that's become more complicated, but we are working on it as we speak.
Can we, when new employees, when they sign the handbook, can we reference specifically which ones are new?
Oh, yes, we can do that.
Because let's just be honest, because I've worked for the district as well. You sign the handbook, but you don't read it, the whole thing.
Certainly.
But I would be more likely to go specifically to those that are there that have been updated or revised.
What we have thought about is doing kind of like what ASBA does, and they send out, hey, here's the newest model updates, and we say, here's the newest updates.
Yes.
They're not models; they're here, and here's the links to them.
So we'll do two things. We'll send a memo out to all of our employees that these have been updated. We'll let them know that there will be training. We'll also, in the employee handbook, we'll also notify them of what's been changed.
And we'll put the links in there, like I said, kind of like ASBA does, and you just click on it and it goes right there.
Let me ask this, can we look at, when they sign the contract, it's time sensitive to ensure that we have documentation that our employees have read and understand these new policies?
It is. It's
You know what I'm saying? How they you have to click to show that you did read this and you signing that you understand what's here.
So that is there. I'm trying to think.
That's in the contract.
It's
yeah.
in the current contract.
No. I'm saying,
No,
can we set the policies up like the contract is set up as they sign off on them?
I don't know. We'll have to look into that.
I'm a very proactive person,
That
and I'm just trying to keep us from
would
real live situations.
if it was just off the top of my head, if it was
it don't have to be that that
one,
detailed.
one link per policy, classified alone is going to have probably close to 60.
I'm just trying to think of a way to know that they had it.
Yeah,
so
we'd
if it
have to-
happens, say, what is it, Grinder? Ginder. Mr. Ginder has a staff person. Situation comes up with one of these occurrences. He's able to have in his time meeting with that employee where you sign stating you understood. It's just another layer to me of accountability that I think is worth our time to invest in.
Let's look at that, because we've got all of our policies linked right here on. So we could set something up, it's possible, that links all of these in the section, and that would be. Let me just think about that logistically.
Don't make it hard.
But if that's
we
the
just
will
have to
of
figure
the
the
board that you want
figure out the
specifically to
electronic
sign
piece of it,
off on all that, we'll be happy to do it.
You know what we used to do? We'd have in-service, and what we'd say on the in-service, we're covering these policies. And
Yeah, you
everybody
can do
who
it
went
that
to
way, too.
in-service had to sign it.
You can do it that
And
way
you can
too.
put that in their employee file, that they went to this in-service, they signed it. It's simple, very easy.
Same thing, just different method.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to say that they are saying
we
they're
can
aware.
figure out a process.
Did you?
No.
You
I'm good.
you started.
I'm all right. We can keep going. We have another one.
Okay. So
Is there a motion?
We're looking at these ones.
Attendance. Attendance.
Okay.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that
Okay.
we accept.
Point of order.
Yes.
When will this policy be in effect?
When we say I do, or
When we say I do?
I do.
when you
we
approve it,
approve,
You say
when
yes.
we
Yeah, I
approve,
Okay.
when we approve it tonight.
Okay.
so for the 26-27, it begins
So it
26-27 school year.
Begin. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I do.
Just, I don't. Let's talk, can we just talk real quickly about the points? Are these points where I know this was one of our big conversations as it relates to how they would get them. I'm looking at them. How they understand the points. Because I think this is each chargeable occurrence, tarred at 1/2 is half point.
So the bottom line is, if you're late past a certain period, I think there's within the discretion of the supervisor, because life happens. But you have to be, let's just say, and I'll use cafeteria worker, they have to be there a certain time to have breakfast ready, okay? If she has an employee that comes in 10 minutes late, okay, clocks in 10 minutes late, that's an occurrence. That occurrence is half a point. So if it's just simple tardiness and not something egregious, but just by the point system, ma'am, what this does in one fiscal year, we obviously from 1 July through 30 June, where we reset everything in the school district, that's up to 10 times you can be tardy. We thought that was pretty generous. So 10 times before you could wind up really being recommended for termination or something. Now, it's progressive as you go. You can see the points. It goes, here's a verbal warning. It follows progressive discipline policy. But ultimately, it could go up to 10 times in 1 year.
So this for classified staff that clocks in?
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
is this all classified staff?
It's classified staff that clock in. It's the
So that would
non-exempt.
be our cafeteria,
And bus drivers.
bus drivers.
Maintenance. Some maintenance.
Not all the maintenance.
Janitorial,
Is
that
this-
part of maintenance. We've got some maintenance on salary, and that's something we're working on. Kind of like with the license out of the house. Security services, minus the nurses. They're on salary. They're different. So we have several out there with the new time clock system. And the other part of the whole time clock thing is it's just the way the system's set up, and I don't want to go too far on the mechanics, but it assumes you have worked a 40-hour work week, and you get paid like you're on salary despite the fact you clock in and clock out. So if you come in late or leave early, it takes a manual input to fix that. So finance and payroll has to go in there and say, okay, we have to tell the system, Mr. Stanger did not work 40 hours. He worked 39 throughout that week because he was sometimes clocking in late and leaving early or whatever. That takes another manual input. This helps to address the backside of all the extra work that goes on top of the attendance, on top of people showing up late, on top of these kind of folks that she has to manage, all the way down to our entry-level supervisors. They're like, I got to have people here so we can serve breakfast. That's what the ultimate intent of this policy is, to set expectations, establish standards, and essentially regulate behavior, and in some cases, or a lot of cases, especially at the board level, mitigate risk. That's what policy does. And I'm not trying to preach to the choir here, but to answer your question, that's what that is all about.
So if the question was, what are we solving for, you would say to mitigate risk
At the
as it relates to
at the strategic level, yes,
being
ma'am.
in place to serve breakfast,
Right.
being here to take care of this.
At the strategic level, at all the way down to I would say, the on the ground level, where our entry-level supervisors work. She needs her employees to show up in time so they can serve breakfast and feed kids.
My last question, safety and security is on a time clock?
Mm-hmm.
I never knew that.
Not the chief. There's always some salaried people sprinkled in some of this stuff, but some of them are. That's correct.
That's like the campus supervisors?
Right. So, obviously Chief Finks has left, and whoever the next chief thinks is going to be, that person is not, but security officers and stuff, because they clock in, clock out, and then when they work, games, that kind of stuff, we pay overtime. That's how all that is managed.
My only concern with the security is, what if an incident comes up, it's 3:30, they were supposed to clock out, but they've got a report to do something else,
Then they're going to get paid overtime.
Right, that's where that transfers from.
Yeah.
What they're paying them to do during the day, then that transfers over to, now I'm going to work a football game.
That's all governed
And I'm going to
by
get
state and federal law.
Paid
So
overtime.
Will, at a very high level, will we be able to see and monitor how many points are being accumulated?
Sure. I mean, we could look
We-
at
we
that
could-
generally speaking
John-
by
yeah.
a department.
We could do
we're
by
just-
department,
to
We
see-
can't do it by individual
Of
employee,
course
but
not.
Yeah.
we could look at it by, and that's where we go into attendance, and our managers, our supervisors are looking at attendance in their departments. But yeah, we can look at that, sure.
Just
We
to
could
be able to
report on that.
Look at
just
trends.
To look at trends,
Yeah.
to monitor if there's some group that is heavily relying upon these.
Oh,
than
absolutely.
others.
That's how we figured out we needed something like this because of the trend lines in certain areas. Yeah, we track that kind of stuff.
What if you
Yeah.
could share that with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Does our clocking system allow you to make reports to compare to what's being reported and what's actually happened?
I don't understand the question.
Let's say you have Supervisor A, he's got a person who's been missing, who's been late 3 times. He's reporting it and he's following the process. You got Supervisor B, they're missing it, but he is not reporting that this person is missing.
Okay,
Is
so
there a tracking system to make sure that it's consistent and fair?
okay, so if Supervisor B in this time is kind of turning a blind eye, what happens is all that time clock information payroll sees.
Correct.
And payroll has already been good to let the CFO, and sometimes it comes to me,
Point out the inconsistencies.
yeah, and and this person is like, hey, why are we doing this? Because here's a 4-hour gap, or here's, a 7-hour gap. There's some of the bigger ones that come up to this higher level, but they see all of that because they're the ones that will actually have to go in and input and change if somebody clocks in or clocks in late or clocks out early. Because the system there again assumes you've worked a 40-hour week, and they have to go back and make those adjustments if they
But
don't.
with this policy change, we're allowing for supervisors to be able to make those changes, right? That's like part D, or
So correct. So we do that right now too. Part of the current problem though is when they do that, there should be some explanation. So I'm making stuff up. Life happens, all of a sudden I don't have a cat. I got to take my cat to the vet. I'm going to be 15 minutes late or I'll be 20 minutes late. The supervisor can go, okay, got it. The supervisor should be able to go up to, in this case, let's say child nutrition, up to Mr. Ginder, up through the chain and say, hey, realize they're not being paid for those 20 minutes that they're late because that's what the time says, but they're not going to get a point or half a point in this scenario. They have that ability. You can't predict it all. Life is life.
we're still allowing for supervisor discretion.
Oh, absolutely.
to
Yeah,
not-
that's in
that's-
that's
Sure,
in
like
the
if you have a
policy.
flat tire, like we're
Yeah,
not gonna,
we're not
You're
gonna.
right. We're not gonna penalize
And
you for
finance isn't gonna come
stuff
back
in-
and say, hey,
See,
why
there-
didn't you get
matter
a
of
point?
fact, I
That you
think it's
can't
paragraph
control.
E in it. It says
That's,
supervisors
that's what I was thinking, E.
Yeah, E.
Supervisors can.
have that discretion to be able to
To-
make those judgment calls. That is
to make-
correct.
So there is discretion.
Like an over-
Oh, there-
how they get
Boy, I wonder what
There
this
has to
would
be.
look like if this was the policy for everybody. You don't have to answer. That's just me thinking.
No,
If everybody, all of our staff licensed, and everybody had to follow this piece.
we are working on that
That
part.
would
The what we don't
scary.
have with license.
That's right.
Yeah, what we don't have with license is a clocking system. It'll be very similar. Mechanically, will have to be different because.
Let me be clear. I didn't say that's what I want us to do.
Oh, no,
I said based on my mind, I wonder what it would look like.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand jobs are different.
Well,
I understand some people clock in. I understand people are exempt. Some are non-exempt. I got all that, and I don't want to be measured that I don't know that.
Oh no, man!
I'm just speaking if everybody had to feel
You're
what some of our employees will feel in situations like this.
when we get through this next policy, you're going to get to see it because eventually you'd have to vote on it. So
I just want to be clear.
Mhm.
I asked some questions just curiosity,
sure,
not that I don't know that. So
Never
I need that
assumed
to
it.
reflect in the mic.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a motion?
We can try this again. Madam Chair, I move that we accept the CPPC attendance policy as presented with a link for the grievance process and a notation of the reset of the point system.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved in second that we approve the classified personnel attendance policy with the amendments that were read. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. I don't think so.
Sorry.
Roll call, Ms. Rhonda.
Dr. Redis,
Yes.
Mrs. Temple,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Ms. Barker,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Previous board meeting minutes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that we accept the minutes, the regular minute meeting from June 25th to 26th and the special meeting minutes from July 9th to 26th.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved in second that we approve the previous board meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. On the consent agenda, are there any questions or anything that needs to be pulled from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
1 second, Madam Chair.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead.
I just had a question about the facility rental. I read through and recognized that we offer that, but it was noted in there that there was no financial impact, and I was just curious, when we do grant people access to the space for continued lengths of time, how does that work from an expense perspective, like for air and lights and custodians, and is there a cost associated for the district that?
It is.
Okay, because I didn't see it in there.
So we, superintendent has the authority to waive some of those fees.
Right.
And so, when we think about partnerships and long-term partnerships that we have, sometimes they're nonprofits. Sometimes, we've done things with churches and stuff.
Right.
So now if you're an and I believe the PALS program is with the
North Rock.
Police.
the police
Yeah.
department, sure, and they're huge partners of us.
Right.
Like when we use their space, they don't charge us, so it's just kind of an in-kind to give back
Right.
for what they give us.
And I know I've seen that in other facility use requests, but from our perspective, budgeting for the expense of keeping it open, like, do we do that? Do we track when we give in kind, when we allow the space to be used, but then we have, I don't know how much it costs us to keep the gym open 4 nights a week, but.
I mean, we do track all that. I'll maybe refer to Mr. Brown on that. But if we track, we can, we know the time they're using it. So if we're running the air conditioning between such and two points in time, we can see what that cost is for sure.
Okay. Not to be overly nitpicky, whenever we are granting access to space for continued periods of time, I was curious if we could keep an account of how much costs we're taking on when doing that. And because I had read something about custodians, like that oftentimes there was some stipulation that this is contingent upon the gym staying clean, basically. And making sure that, because I guess they take on that ownership every evening.
Yes.
Okay.
Only question I had with that was, how would we address someone else that asked to use it and they get charged the cost? How would we speak to, how do we do that to the public? If another organization writes and wants to use it and they say, well, the PALS got it for free. Because we know that can happen.
And I haven't seen one where we have, because like.
I just want us to know.
There's somewhere we've, and I think to your point, so if we take the police department, I mean,
Right,
they could do the
that's
same
no-brainer.
thing with us,
Right.
how many times that we use their space over there for free. When we have partnerships where these other partners are giving to us, to me, it just makes sense to give back when we can. And when we can't, we certainly won't. I mean, we get things all the time that are outside companies or something that wants to use ours, and they're going to have to pay for the space.
I agree with you. It makes sense. Partnerships we have win-win, but I know that could be a question
Sure.
from another organization. So I was just want to ensure that we knew what that response would look like. Because I agree, some things are just a no-brainer. They give to us, we give back.
Sure.
But you could have this organization call because they saw that and
Sure.
expect the same thing.
Sure.
Any other discussion? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed? As presented.
Madam President, I move to accept the consent agenda as printed.
Second.
It has been properly moved and second that we approve the consent agenda as printed. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. Executive closed session. Executive closed session per North Florida School District Policy 1.14H stating that private or closed discussions by the board may occur as part of a regular or special board meeting. Executive sessions may be held only for the purpose of considering employment, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of an employee, or to discuss matters of pupil punishment, if requested by the parent or legal guardian. No resolution, agreement, or motion considered in the executive session shall be legally binding unless the board reconvenes in public session and presents the item for vote of the membership. Finally, Arkansas Code Title 25, Chapter 19, Section 106(2)(c)(1) states, the specific purpose of the executive session shall be announced in public before going into executive session. So please join me in the executive closed session for discussing the following matters: employment, appointments, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of an employee. We are back in session. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I
Yes.
move we accept the employment of personnel as presented in executive session.
Second.
It has been properly moved in second that we accept the employment of personnel as discussed in executive session. Being that it is employment of personnel, there can be no discussion, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. The acknowledgements, the only acknowledgement that I have is, I know that they be listening. I didn't realize how many people watch our YouTube meetings. But thank you to ASBA for the invitation to be on the panel with Dr. Poor and Dr. P, and to get out of my comfort zone and speak by myself at the closing session. So I do appreciate that, and I hope I represented North Little Rock well.
I just wanted to recognize all of our school administrators. We had a great 3 days at our Leadership Institute to prepare for opening of school, and I appreciate all their hard work. Just like Mr. Lowe that was there for 3 days. Shout out.
Other than that, if nobody else has anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I move we adjourn.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. We adjourn. Is there any discussion about it? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any